Stories now. Today is COVID-19 vaccine day for more than 500,000 teachers at both public and private schools across South Africa. The vaccine rollout is expected to be completed in just about 10 to 14 days, with a day to spare before school term ends on the 9th of July. Teachers will receive the single dose of Johnson & Johnson, with more supplies expected to arrive in the country in the coming days. So all teachers and school support staff are eligible, except those who've already been inoculated or those who've been in contact with COVID-19 patients in the last 30 days. That also excludes those who've received a flu vaccine. However, early childhood development teachers have been left out of this phase. What do we make of this? Let's bring in Dr. Jo Barnes. She's a senior lecturer at Stellenbosch University's Department of Global Health, and she says this is a grave mistake. Doc, great to see you. Tell us why.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers. I'm afraid that this whole saga of rollout, but particularly the one for the teachers, seem to be indicative of the state of our governmental management. Let us first say that I'm delighted to hear that when I heard that they were going to vaccinate the teachers. The teachers are frontline position. It's a different front line to the health services workers. It's simply in education rather than in health, but the front line nevertheless, and they are certainly exposed to great risks. Children are much more susceptible to the new variants than they were to the old ones. And even the younger children are not spared the new variants. And I'm afraid that the planning has used the situation with the old variant, the original one, when they excluded the early childhood development workers, teachers and support staff. But I'm starting to get quite cynical about the rollout procedures as it's rolling along slowly. And I also think that it is a symptom of miscommunication or non-communication between various government departments, because for some unknown reason, early childhood development institutions fall under the Department of Social Development and not under the Department of Basic Education. And they have forever been left out of all sorts of rulings. In fact, they had to take the Department of Social Development to court to be able to get out of the hard lockdown. So they keep on being forgotten, and they are at big risk, just like any other school staff. And I'm at a loss to explain to you why they've been left out. I suspect it was because of the vaccine numbers that are available, but that is not really an excuse to leave a crucial part of the staff, because people with small children may have bigger children as well in the family. So protecting the family from one part of the childhood development and not the other seems to be irrational.
And what in the current status quo, Doc, is the arrangement for those in ECD centers insofar as when they're allowed to actually allow teaching and learning to take place? Is it also on what's called a traditional timetable basis, which is the Monday to Friday, or are you also having to rotate when you can actually teach?
No, as far as I know, I'm from the health services and I'm an epidemiologist, so I'm not directly involved in ECD. But as far as I know, they are at the moment on a traditional timetable from Monday to Friday. It's a bit difficult and very unsettling for the very young, let's say the 2 to 5 year olds, to come to their little school one day and then not the other day. So it would seem to me, educationally speaking, to be preferential that they have either the traditional one or the complete online, if that is the. But we have problems with parents not being available to supervise these little ones when it's completely online. So either way around, these very young children are at a disadvantage. They don't get so sick if they should, most of them, if they should get the virus, but they are very efficient at passing it on, believe me. So it's not really safer to ignore them.
Sure. What do we know about how they might respond to any kind of inoculation program? It's a very premature question to be asking in a context where those even above 40 are yet to receive their vaccines. But hypothetically speaking, once we get there, what do we know about whether the current available candidates are safe for toddlers?
Safety speaking, I owe you an answer. I don't know, because I am afraid I don't think there's been any countries doing a very large amount of research on these very young children. I'm talking ECD now, because it was assumed in the past that they are protected from the virus largely by their age, which turns out to be not so true anymore. But it's also very risky and ethically questionable to expose children, those very young children, to high risks. But I do know that there are countries that are vaccinating children from 13 years and up by now. That they have. It somehow seemed to me to be sad that we live in a world where some countries have got enough vaccines to vaccinate children from 13 years and up, while others don't even have enough vaccines for their elderly. There's a big mismatch there.
Absolutely. Are we even anywhere near quantifying the lost opportunity or the cost of being where we are? I mean, we're in a context where teachers in ECD centers might very well feel afraid and therefore will be afraid. One can only imagine the impact that's having on the quality of students that can come from the sector.
You know, right across the education sector, and I'm speaking from somebody who works at a university, and we receive the products that are produced by the school education system. And I am really, really concerned for the future for us, because Martin Gustafsson calculated that for most of the majority of learners, last year, the school year of last year, lost 60% of their contact school time. These children and learners received a serious setback in their knowledge. And here is the tragic story of South Africa. It affects those no-fee schools, the worst, the ones that provide education for low-income learners. They also often have no online ability to learn.
Yeah.
And even if they do, they don't have parents that can help them or supervise what they're doing. So we are widening the gap.
Yeah. How, as an epidemiologist, what do you make of the strategy that mostly government, I guess, has taken to even focus on teachers? Part of the raging debate now is whether or not that kind of particular strategy is in line with the priority of ensuring that those most vulnerable receive the vaccine first. In other words, we might very well find ourselves in a context where a 30-year-old with no comorbidities will get a vaccine first because they're a teacher, whilst those who are above 60 elsewhere won't get a jab because of the supply constraints.
I wish I could answer you, but the government's rollout plan in general and the finer detail of it and the forward planning for what is, particularly the forward planning for what is next, is shrouded in mystery for all of us who are not serving on the, I can almost say, mysterious Ministerial Advisory Committee. We don't know. We don't know what is planned for next and how it is going to be handled. And I am concerned if any government across the world seems to want to hide those details, and they can't blame us if we start thinking they are planning it as they go, that they don't necessarily have strategies in place, because First of all, I admit that there are vaccine constraints, but there also seems to be very much of a confusion reigning about what is next and when are we going to do what. And politicians keep on making these inflated promises that they can't keep. And that is also very bad for the morale of the population.
Do you think the objective of getting this done in 10 days is one of those dramatic, call it ambitious promises?
I wish I knew, and I sincerely hope not, but it may very well turn out that the technicalities of the logistics on the ground may defeat them. It depends to a great extent on the cooperation of the teachers, and I am not sure that many of those schools have been subjected to, instead of instruction, education as to why it is important and what it can do for them, and that it is not a risk at all to their health. I don't know whether many of the teachers, particularly in far-flung areas and in low or no-fee schools, were properly informed as to why this is. And I'm worried because this is ripe for capturing by political parties that are known for causing trouble. So I'm so worried that if a low percentage of teachers turn out, that it will defend the aims.
Much to think about. Dr. Jo Barnes, let me thank you for your time. Really appreciate your insights this morning. Dr. Jo Barnes is a senior lecturer at Stellenbosch University's Global Health Department as we reflect on how the inoculation of teachers is likely to pan out. Doc, once again, thanks very much indeed.